Okay. Rivka Benetska, good morning. Michal Hernandez, good morning. Maya Hernandez, good morning. Devar Kapalovich, good morning. Rotem, good morning. Rivka Shira, good morning. Rachel, good morning. Sofa Geula, good morning. Sarah Besnevs, good morning. No, I'm a Chazaka, 3 in a row, not bad, huh? Ariel Diamond, not here. Yeah, okay. Malka Lefana Butler, good morning. Brocha Simcha Inashkin.
That's Ariel.
Ignashkina. Okay, anyone else here who needs to be marked down?
Nicole.
Nicole. Ariel. Last name? Okay. Sharon. Last name, sorry? Okay. Yeah, I got you. Thank you. Okay. So, need a haircut. Okay, so this week I'm going to go inside because I prepared a different sikha and then the schedule changed. And we don't have much time. So that wasn't and as in continue. That was like and separate point. Okay, so in the beginning of Parshas Vayeshev, it talks about Yosef's two dreams, the two dreams that he dreamt. And the dreams have similar messages. Both of his dreams carry the message that Yosef's brothers were going to bow to him and to serve him. In the second dream of the stars, the moon, and the sun, there was an addition, which was that not only would his brothers bow to him as represented in the first dream with the bundles of wheat, but in addition, the sun and the moon representing Yaakov and Bilhah would also bow to him. And then we also have with Paro, we have two dreams that he had. Again, two dreams with similar messages. Now with Paro, would you like me to actually read the Hebrew and translate it? Yeah? Okay, so we're up to here, just halfway down the first column in the middle. The word line's mashmaos. The word line begins with the word mashmaos, and we're at the second word aval. Aval sham, but there, eitzel pare by pare, nesenes haTorah tam ba'al lishonos chalem. The Torah gives a reason why the dream was repeated, why he had a second dream to give the same message. And it says, Ki umamar lekim asoso. When Yosef was interpreting Paro's dreams, he interprets the repetition and the fact that there were two dreams and says, because it's going to be happening quickly, so the repetition of the dream is emphasis on the rapid realization of the message of the dream. In contrast, Eitzel Yosef, by Yosef's dreams, the Torah doesn't give any reason explicitly why the dream was repeated. Now we do see something additional in the second dream, right? So it's not like the second dream seems to be a complete waste, because there's an additional message in the second dream beyond the message of the first dream, and that is also Yaakov and Bilhah will bow to Yosef. However, that's not really a reason why he had to have two dreams. Yosef could have just had one dream. That could have been the first dream, and then he would have had the whole message in the first dream. So we don't really understand so far why Yosef had to have two dreams. and so it's understood from this, even though the messages of the two dreams, the content of the two dreams was similar, there are two different messages here. And the question is, what are those two different messages going to be? We need to understand. Right? If Yosef had two completely unrelated dreams with two completely different messages, we wouldn't ask, why did he have two dreams? It would be like, he had two dreams because there were two messages. Now, it seems at first glance like the message of the two dreams is pretty much the same. So why did he have two dreams? The thing is that we are now going to have to do the work of getting to understand why and how it actually is two completely different messages. So we need to understand, what are the two separate messages in these two dreams? And what do they have to tell us? What's the message, the practical message of these dreams to us today? As we've said many times, the actions, the stories of our forefathers. This includes Yosef, even though generally.
It's so good. That's good.
Like in 10 minutes, we need to finish it.
25.
Okay.
I can. Did you get the message that I was going to be late today? Yeah. Yeah. So sorry about that.
It's so quick, he doesn't understand.
My apologies.
It sounds like.
Well, I'm glad to know I don't always sound like that. At least משהו חדש היום. זה לא תמיד ככה.
לא תמיד.
ברוך השם, זה טוב לשמוע. Okay, so what's the lesson from this task? Because as we've said many times, the stories of the forefathers are a message and a sign to us today, and that includes Yosef, even though he's not one of the forefathers, F-O-R-E, the three forefathers, which is Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, it includes him as well. Generally, he's of the same vein and in the same sort of category. And he continued the legacy. So the question is, what are these two dreams? What are the two different messages of these two dreams to us? The difference between the two dreams of Yosef is the first dream, the first dream that was referring to worldly ground, things on the ground. He's talking about binding sheaves of grain, very tangible things that we all can handle and relate to and have a close, direct, tangible connection and relationship to. The second dream was about the sun, the moon, and the stars, which are things that are very distant. And whilst they're physical, practically speaking, they're relatively abstract to us. They're very distant. We don't really interact with them. They're not quite as intangible as the spiritual, but they're intangible, relatively speaking, and they're distant, which makes them a good metaphor for the tangible. And we've talked at length relatively recently, if I'm not mistaken, about the fact that the word heavens, which literally just means sky, is generally used. Most of the time people say heavens, they don't mean the physical sky, they mean spirituality. And that's because the sky is such a strong metaphor for spirituality, because it's distant and relatively abstract and not as tangible for us, that it's become a actual metaphor, and people say heavens when they're referring to spirituality. So the sun, the moon, and the stars are heavenly, which is a metaphor for that which is spiritual, things that are distant and intangible, relatively abstract. So with Pare, both of Pare's dreams were about tangible things on the ground. One was about animals, cows. The second was about plants, about these kernels. Pare didn't have any dreams about anything heavenly at all. And even when it comes to the dreams he had about worldly things on the ground, so what was the order? First, it was in descending order. First, he had a dream about animals. And then after dreaming about animals, he had a dream about plants. Now, plants are, without overcomplicating things, plants are less alive, or the degree to which, or the complexity of life that plants have is less than the extent and or complexity of life that animals have. So Pare's dreams are going in descending order from that which is more alive and complex to that which is less alive and complex. Yosef's dreams were in ascending order, going upwards. First, he had a dream about the ground, the wheat, etc. And then his second dream was moving upwards. His second dream was about the heavenly things, sun, moon, and the stars. Over the page on page number 60. This is generally the difference between the life of a Yid and the life of someone who's not Jewish. Even while we are alive, our neshama is here in a body, in a physical body, in the physical world. Our life is still very much a ongoing interaction with two different worlds at the same time. Not only do we interact with the physical, tangible matter of this world, our lives really revolve around, in a very fundamental and central way, revolve around spirituality. Right. So with this story about when the Frierdiker Rebbe was in jail and they were trying to bully him and threaten him, and then an officer pulled out a revolver and aimed it at the Frierdiker Rebbe's head. And the Frierdiker Rebbe said that he wasn't going to cooperate and talk. And then this officer pulled out a revolver and pointed at the Frierdiker Rebbe and said, many people before have said they weren't going to talk. And this little toy over here has made many people change their mind and speak. And the Frierdiker Rebbe said that that toy of yours is very effective against people who have many gods and one life. I have one God and many lives, so that doesn't scare me. So point being, for the Frierdiker Rebbe, the multiple lives, the fact that what we see, the tangible material life and world that we interact with and that we relate to immediately in a tangible way, or the fact that there was more than that and other layers that are not tangible, those layers are very real to the Frierdiker Rebbe, to the point that he wasn't afraid of death. Death didn't bother the Frierdiker Rebbe at all, because the post-physical death life was just as real to him. There was nothing scary about the end of physical life. And so we have a dual relationship with the physical, with the spiritual. And not only that, there is a sequential order. Right, we talked about Yaakov's ladder. The ladder represents davening, prayer. We start off in the morning, planted on the ground, and ascend towards the heaven, just like Yaakov's ladder was standing on the ground and reach towards the heavens. That's the journey of our lives, starting out on the ground, tangible, and moving up towards spirituality, towards the heavenly. And so that's the sequence of Yosef's dream. It started off material, started off on the ground, and the second dream was with the heavens, representing the fact that our lives are a journey from being more materially oriented towards the spiritual, the heavenly. So Gimel, Kolin Yanei Torah Medil. So everything about Torah is precise. And okay, I'm going to have to start moving a little more quickly, if that is possible. So everything about, and every detail and everything about Torah has a practical message to us, which means that the two, I'll read it inside. I'm just going to go really quickly. Okay, this could be a whole conversation in itself. That's already enough. So now what happened with Yosef? Yosef did have two dreams that did share a common message. He had a dream about the ground and a dream about the sky, and the message of the two was the same. And this is speaking to us right now. Every one of us has extensive interactions with the worldly, with the physical, with very mundane things. And we hopefully have extensive interactions with the heavenly, with the spiritual. Yosef had two dreams, but the two dreams were the same message. Our relationship with the material doesn't need to be a different thing to our relationship with the spiritual. Our relationship with the material and our relationship with the spiritual are supposed to be relationships with two different categories, but both of them have the same content, the same message, the same intention, the same purpose, the same focus, which is fulfilling the purpose of creation. Integrating matter and spirit, making a dir b'tachtonim, bringing divinity, godliness, kedusha, elokus, into the physical world. So we have two relationships with two different categories, but they're all ultimately about the same thing. And that's represented by Yosef's dream about the ground, dream about the heavens, both same message. because our relationships with the world and with the spiritual have the same message and the same idea and the same focus and the same objective. So our interactions with the material shouldn't be interfering with our spirituality and our relationship with the spiritual. They should be just two parts of the same thing. We're going to skip the parentheses because I'd love to get carried away with it, but we don't have time. So down towards the bottom. The fact that our basic physical needs and interactions with our physical needs can be spiritual and should be part of the spiritual is built into our nature. Ultimately, our neshamas want spirituality. Our neshamas, our souls want godliness and want to bring godliness into the world. And our souls ultimately are behind everything, which means that everything we do deep down is driven by a desire to interact, to integrate spirituality into matter, into the world. And it's something that we have within us. It's maybe a journey to uncover that, to work on it, to act on it in a conscious way, etc. But we all have it inside of us. It's not too much. It's not out of our reach. Daled, top of the left column on page 61. This is, as far as these two parts of our lives really being the same one mission, the same one thing, that's generally a message and a lesson from the two dreams of Yosef, broadly speaking. But what is so now the question is, what is the specific lesson from each of the two dreams? Because in addition to the fact that there were two dreams, in addition to two being two is also 1 + 1. So he did have a first dream and a second dream. What's the message of each of those dreams independently of the combined message of the two together? So Yosef's first dream begins and it says, we were in the fields and we were tying these bundles. Yosef's dream starts with work. The first thing he describes is we were in the field doing work. And it's hard work. We were working hard. We were doing the physical labor. And this is a difference between anything that's associated with godliness, divinity, growth, purpose, meaning, kedusha, versus things that are associated with klippa, with that which is not holy and sacred, with the mundane and taking it further to negativity. Anything in life, and this is a general rule, and I heard this, I actually didn't hear it, I saw it articulated beautifully once. And it said, if you're ever on a bike and you're moving quickly and you're not pedaling really hard, you're going downhill. There's no such thing as going uphill without putting in effort. It's a technical impossibility to go uphill without putting in effort. So Yosef's dreams, the message of Yosef's dreams is about our life, why we're here, the way we're supposed to be living our lives. The first thing is putting in the effort. The first thing Yosef describes is hard work. And that's because step number one in anything meaningful, in anything worthwhile, and in anything that's going to take us somewhere that we really want to be going, step number one by definition is always going to have to be effort. As opposed to things that don't take effort. And now that's not to say that things in life that are fulfilling and rewarding and meaningful can't be enjoyable and fun, but step number one is always going to be the work. Anything that's immediately fun and just makes you feel really good without having to put in any effort, with a very few exceptions of, moments of inspiration and things like that, but with very few exceptions, as a rule, anything that just makes you feel good without investment of effort up front is generally unlikely to be coming from a good place. Anything that gives us a sense of reward, of feeling good, happy, fun, whatever, without us putting in some work in the beginning, it's not necessarily not real, but it's probably not positive. There are many things in life that give us pleasure and they feel good and they're fun and they're enjoyable without any effort. Very few, if any, things in that category are things that are actually going to make our lives better, more meaningful, more fulfilling. right? Anything in life that's going to take our life somewhere where we want to go, דורש עבודה, בתחילה. דבר ראשון, זה חייב להיות עבודה. אם אין עבודה, בהתחלה, מסתם זה לא הולך למקום טוב. זה לא מגיע משורש טוב. Yeah? So that's why Yosef, the first thing is, step number one is work, is labor, putting in the effort. And what happens when we start off and we put in the effort, we start off with the work, then our journey goes from the ground to the sky, just like the ladder in Yaakov's dream, started off on the ground, reaches up towards the heavens. If we put in the work, our lives then can represent this journey with the sequence of Yosef's dreams from the ground to the heavens, from the mundane to the sacred, from the worldly to the heavenly. That sequence, by definition, step number one in that sequence needs to be work, needs to be effort. And that's why the first thing Yosef describes in the first dream is work. Now, taking it further, what was the specific variety of work that was described in Yosef's dream? We're at Hay on the bottom of the left column of page 61. Ma'al mimalumin, tying bundles. Now, bundles of grain, of stalks, right? Grain grows on stalks. If you ever see a field of stalks of grain, that's S-T-A-L-K-S, not stalks as in the birds. Stalks of grain, because you guys wouldn't say stalks, you'd say stalks, and then stalk and stalk would be two different things. But for me, it's okay. Yeah, I'll take responsibility for that. So stalks of grain grows on stalks, right? If you look at a field of stalks of grain, each stalk is like this thin little straw with like a few kernels of grain. And, now thankfully we have machinery and technology that a big thing just comes and like chops it all down and collects it. But if you have someone who's cutting that, the amount of stalks that need to be cut through and then gathered, stalks can be quite tall and each stalk just has like a few grains at the top. It's like, you're going to gather a lot of stalks to get any amount of grain, and then you grind that down into flour. And what do you get? Like a cup of flour for like a huge area of the field that was harvested. It's like a lot of work for a very little bit of output. They're taking things that grow individually. Each stalk is separate. The bottom line is, if you cut down the stalks and you take 1,000 stalks and you tie them up into a bundle, you now have something substantial. You have something substantial that's comprised of a lot of individual units that seem like they might be inconsequential individually. But number one is, once you bring them together, they're not inconsequential. Number two, if they are substantial, once you combine them together, that means that they are not inconsequential individually either, because it's just that it's hard to see how substantial they are until they're combined with others. But ultimately, primarily the point is, the work was taking things that were individual and combining them together into a collective. And this is really the message of what we're here to do. We are here to gather separate things and to combine them. To take things that are separate, individual, bring them together, to unite things with one purpose, to unite all the different things, different sparks of Kedusha, different parts of life, bring everything together. And where does the work take place? B'soich hasod, in the field. So he says, and we were gathering stalks in the field. And here's the message. We're at the top of page 62. Zui Haira, this is the message, Shas lesson. Nishma, so Yehudi, the neshama of a yid comes down into the world, into the field. Right? The field is outdoors. The field is a place of maybe discomfort. We're subject to the elements. And that's really a metaphor for the harshness of the physical world in the context of spirituality. It's a harsh place. It's a hard place to stay focused and to stay on point and on message. There are a lot of distractions. There are a lot of elements that can make that difficult to do. And it's a place where there's a lot of fracturedness. There's a lot of being spread thin and fragmentedness, and everything's different and everything's independent. Nothing's connected to anything else, and nothing has a shared message or purpose, and everything's out for itself and doing its own thing. And it can be very easy to feel very fragmented and feel spread thin and pulled apart in all different directions, and the world really can do that to us. And the neshama comes into this environment in the body, in the animal soul in the body, and its job in this field of separate, independent stalks, where everything is on its own, doing its own thing, without necessarily a common thread or purpose or meaning. Our job is to collect all those things and bring them together into one collective bunch, to bring it all together into a collective unit. And everything we interact with in our lives, we could interact with different people, different things, and the variety could be infinite. But ultimately, what we're here to do is to bring everything we interact with together into a common purpose, a common mission, a common objective, which is bringing godliness into the world, elevating the world, uplifting the world. And that could be when we sleep and when we eat and when we practice art and when we hang out and fun and when we socialize and when we spend time with family and when we spend time with friends and when we have downtime and self-care. All the things we do can and should be with the same purpose, which is to do what we're here to do, to bring God into the world, to elevate the world, to bring godliness and divinity into the world, to bring Hashem into the world. And if when we eat food, we're eating food so that we will be in good shape, whether it's for the physical nutrition or because right now maybe we're feeling a bit spread thin, and you know what, sometimes we need a little bit of self-care and sometimes we just need to indulge a bit because we're just feeling a bit worn out emotionally and we just need to, take it easy and just take care of ourselves a little. If the reason we're doing that is so that with the intention to get back on track and to feel good and to be able to do what we need to do with energy and with joy, then the reason we're indulging in a food that we enjoy because we enjoy it is for the right purpose. There's no part of life that can't be brought together into this collective purpose. And there's no part of life that's permissible, right? If something's prohibited, that's a separate story. But anything in life that's permissible can be brought together in this bundle. And when we're indulging in good food or doing something fun, because you know what, that's part of what we need to do to be healthy and to be able to do our thing properly, then when we're doing that fun thing, that to your average onlooker who doesn't understand how focused we are on the fact that everything in our life has purpose and has meaning, they look at it and say, oh, this person's just being frivolous and having a good time. Nothing wrong with that. But they don't realize that even that frivolity and good time can actually be a part of this bundle. It's also a part of this purpose. And our objective in going and having a good time is the same as our objective in learning Torah and the same in our objective in doing mitzvahs and the same as our objective in giving tzedakah and everything else, which is to bring God into the world. And when we do it for that reason, we are bringing Hashem into the fun and into all the different things we do and into the indulgent food that we're eating if we're eating it because we need it and it's going to help us just do our thing and do it properly and with joy and with energy. So there's nothing in the world that we interact with that we can't bring together into this bundle. And one, sorry? So last part of this part, and we're not going to finish the whole thing, but I think we've gotten to a substantial part of the message here, is that all of this happened, this all revolved around Yosef. The taking all of these different things and taking the bundle, taking the stalks, putting it into bundles, all of this was done in an arrangement that revolved around Yosef. And that is, at the end of the day, to be realistically, to be able to do this on our own, possible? Yeah. Practically speaking, not so simple. Practically speaking, to be able to really live a life in which we can interact with material and mundane and not get distracted and led off, and to take those things and to bring them into the bundle and the sheaf and to make it a part of our purpose and meaning and mission and bring it together with everything else. To really do that properly requires a life that revolves around Yosef. Yosef's one of the few people who, as a rule, is referred to as Yosef HaTzadik. right? It's very common for Yosef to be referred to. Anytime it says Yosef HaTzadik, you know who it is. Yosef is very frequently referred to as Yosef HaTzadik. There are very few people who, as a rule, are referred to as so-and-so HaTzadik. And Yosef's the epitome of the concept of a tzaddik, of a person who's, a step above. And that's why Yosef was able to do the things he was able to do without getting sidetracked to a degree that most people would have a very hard time doing. And so when Yosef's at the center and everyone and everything revolves around Yosef, when our life is grounded by and centered by a tzaddik, a Nasi, a Yosef HaTzadik, and our life is centered around that really gives us the grounding to be able to do this practically, because there are many challenges to do this. In reality, it's nice. It's definitely possible. It's also definitely not easy in reality to live this kind of life. And the more we, dance across the line of the more we're involved in the material, the fact is the harder it becomes to not get sidetracked and to not get distracted and to not lose focus. Right? Even Yaakov, he put the stones around his head to protect his mindset. It's not easy. But having a relationship with and having our life revolve around the tzaddik, all the brothers standing around Yosef tzaddik, that gave them the ability to tie the bundles, to take all the different parts of life and bring them together into the one bundle with the one purpose and on project, on point, on mission. And so these dreams of Yosef tzaddik tell us that we are here. There are two dreams specifically because we are supposed to be involved in two different things. We're supposed to be involved in worldly things and in heavenly things. When we do it right, the journey of our life generally is a journey from material to heavenly, which is why the order of his dreams was first the ground, the wheat, the stalks of grain, and then the heavens, the sun, moon, and the stars. In order for that to happen, step number one always has to be putting in effort and doing the work. And having a relationship with the Nasi Ador, with the Tzaddik, with the Yosef, and for things to revolve around that really is a key in making it really feasible and realistic that we're actually going to be able to pull it off. Have a good week. See you next week, Emir Tashem. And yes, hopefully next week we'll be able to slow things down a little. My apologies about that again. All the best. And thank you for the water.
So that's excessive. I can't barely see.